Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host, Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ, but more importantly, you can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. But even more importantly than that, folks, you keep coming back for them. It's not me. It's not it's not the other longtime co-hosts on here. No, you keep coming back for Beau, who you can find on social media at MLS Gamut on Blue Sky. Beau, wonderful to have you here yet again. Hello, good evening.
Yes, 'tis I, Beau. Wonderful to be here, lads. I started with that, and I about halfway through I panicked. So I'm really sorry to you and the listeners. I panicked, thought I could come up with it on the fly, but it's been a long day, man. So yeah, apologies to everyone. Really, I should have been ready for the game. You know what? I'm gonna head back to the practice field. We're gonna train hard. Then next time when we get that opponent, I'm gonna make sure I'm buried upper 90.
Yeah. It sounds like your opponent is Great Britain, though, from your accent. So
I think my opponent is myself, but we'll see.
Hey, here. That's all of us, right? Speaking of opponents and facing our inner demons, you can face your inner demon by following them on social media at LionsBlog1. It's Gavin. Gavin, hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Russell. I appreciated when you said we all have inner demons, essentially, with that response. And then you took a nice swig of beer right after. It was a really good visualization of that statement.
We've all got inner demons.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you how to self-medicate. So don't listen to me. I can't give medical advice. I can barely give soccer advice, Gavin. Let's be honest.
I was gonna say we shouldn't listen to you anyways. Who put you on the podcast?
I don't know. Probably you, like 3 or 4 years ago. So joke's on you, eh?
Yeah, questionable judgment on that one.
Little did you know he wasn't going to go away, did you?
Yeah, he hoped.
I mean, that was kind of the point. That's the point of a co-host. They don't leave you. They don't. Yeah. So, thanks, Russell.
Well,
we love you.
Hey, no problem. I'm happy to bring you on so that I can build you up and then tear you right back down week in, week out for years on end. It's a good thing we have going here. Unlike, guys, I messaged the group chat and I want to get some live reactions. We talked about good things that get broken down. Refereeing this week, what was going on with this?
Any particular calls you care to bring up?
I mean, a number of moments jump out to me. I think one of the ones, maybe we'll just work in reverse, right? Like the Torrey Penzo refereeing was one definitely surprised me because started off very, very, very tight calling. Like I think it was 4 yellow cards in the first 25 minutes. And then those yellow cards went away for a while, and a lot of those same challenges went unyellow carded. And I'm curious as to the inconsistency there because you could tell it was frustrating players, and we saw a red card later on. LAFC played down a man for a pretty good stretch of the match, and I don't have an issue with calling the game tight, but I think if you're gonna give that many yellow cards that early, at that point, you've set the standard. Like, that match, based on how it was being carded initially, probably should have finished with, like, 9v10 or 10v10. And I feel like it was a little bit inconsistent after the cards had already been awarded. And granted, again, everyone's human, right? Maybe Tori's like, hey, you know what? I'm probably calling this too tight. I'm going to back off on it. But the damage has already been done. Like the players are expecting those level of calls now. So that's just one of them.
Just to play devil's advocate here is so then the expectation is, so she may be going, yeah, you know what, I'm giving this too much, like I'm impacting the match. So you would rather her continue to impact the match and both teams end with 8 men, or to do what she did and ease back off and be like, you know what, I think I was calling this a little bit too hard.
Yeah, I think from a standpoint of consistency, like if you gave one bad yellow, that's fine. You can be like, you know what, that's on me. Like I probably was a little overzealous, but like it's not like she gave just one. Like it's 1, 2, 3, 4 yellow cards, very short period of time. Like at that point, you've set the standard, and you've really well set the standard at that point. Like,
Yeah,
do I love that they're yellows? No, but I don't think it's fair to the players, especially the ones that then got sent off based on receiving yellows that turned into second yellows from
yeah,
challenges that maybe shouldn't have been awarded in the first place.
I I have no problem with the red card.
The red card was
Yeah,
like as a second yellow.
100%.
Yeah,
I think
100% a red.
so. I've refereed for like 20 years now, not at the level she has. All right, not nowhere close. But the one thing is that I get what she's trying to do. If you think it's going to be, and we don't know, we don't have access to all the facts, right? Who knows what she could have witnessed during warm-ups and pregame? Like there are certain things that we don't know, right? There's certain things that referees are privy to that we're not. So she may have come in and been like, you know what, I need to set the standard early. These guys are going to have to chill out. And then there is a point where you realize, like, I can't, like, I'm setting a standard and letting these guys know, hey, like, you can't be crazy, but you have to, you have to keep it under control. And but at some point also just being like, I'm about to become like the centerpiece of this game if I'm handing out 4 red cards. And so I've been there before. It sucks because that's and it's a fair criticism, right? To be like, hey, you're inconsistent, but you're trying to do your job of impacting the game. But if the players aren't responding, the only alternative is to start sending players off and doing that. And but here's the thing: it's not like guys are coming in, like 2-footed, like trying to rip the other guy's knee off, right? Like it's some hard stuff. But I it takes a lot of kind of courage a little bit to sit here and go, you know what, I need to back off. I'm starting to have too much of an impact on the game. But I mean, even besides that, it was an exciting game. Like if you guys haven't watched it yet, like go back and watch this game. I think this might have been the game of the week. Um, so
Yeah, it was a fun one. Just for my, I'll be quick. Sometimes when you're a ref, you're trying to kind of like what you were saying, Beau, is you're trying to like set the standard that you're going to allow. And this is the first match of a new rivalry, San Diego versus LAFC. It was a hotly contested game, like you guys both said. And, she came in early and was trying to set that standard. And, I usually in these matches you see a ref kind of let things go, but like give a verbal warning, like, hey, I know this is a high intensity game, new rivalry, but like you can't be doing that. So that's your last warning. Like that's an unacceptable challenge. You're lucky that you didn't get a yellow card. Just give them a quick talking to. Then if they do it again, then you give the yellow. That was one route she could have gone. You see that a lot, I feel like, in these types of games. She went with the I'm showing you the cards, and that's it. And you know what? Yeah, kudos to her for not sending 3 or 4 players off and backing off a bit. Inconsistency is really annoying as a player, but yeah, like you were saying, Beau, refereeing is an art, and so every single call is its own call, and it comes at different points in the game and with different intensities, and how fast the players are running. So yeah, it's hard. It's difficult to be 100% consistent. Well, it's impossible to be 100% consistent as a referee because there's just too many factors. But she did her best.
Yeah,
yeah, and
I
before
won't
we just
discount that
go
part.
on this thing with Tori, but I just want to say, like, as a I really like watching referees. It's one of the things. Tori Penso is one of the best in the league, if not one of the best in the world. I mean, she is incredibly good. So before we sit here and make it seem like we're pooping on her or anything, like she is, I think she's a top 3 ref in MLS. But I mean, heck, every single one of us, including listeners, we've all had off days at work. So these people are no different. I think sometimes we hold referees to unfair standards, but that's a different podcast for a different day, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good item to point out there, Beau, because it's going to come across very poorly that we jump on Tori first, and I'm really just working backwards on this one because I had a lot of questions about a lot of refereeing over the weekend. Notably, right? Maybe something worth considering: the ref in FC Cincinnati versus Nashville. I think I called this one out. So Drew Fisher, who Cincinnati fans have a real issue with, I can tell you a lot of local fans in Cincinnati feel that he does not call matches straight when Cincinnati is involved. They felt that Drew Fisher ignored a very obvious back pass violation in the box and felt that he bought in on the Zimmerman PK. Now he awards a PK to both teams in this match, but I'm curious, mainly, when was the last time we ever saw a back pass violation called? The rule exists, but it's never enforced. So what's the point of the rule?
Well, okay, so I'm fine with this specific back pass. Not it wasn't a back pass. It's a bad touch that comes off his foot in a very quick moment. I don't think giving that is in the spirit of the law. Like it's not a intentional pass. The law is there really uh, to be a detractor so that players don't do it because there is that punishment. It's not meant to be there for being harshly enforced. It's the same thing with the goalkeeper holding on to the ball for, what is it, 6 or 8 seconds? Like, goalkeepers
8 seconds.
hold on to the ball for like 15 seconds sometimes, and no one cares.
Yeah.
And that's a rule that's I think there's rumors that it's going to change in the future. But so I think in the spirit of the law, I don't think it's fair for that to be given as a back pass.
Your dog in the background sounds like they're agreeing or maybe disagreeing with you, Gavin. Although I contest that that was still more intentional than what we're giving because it's a pretty clear play for the ball.
Yeah, but playing for the ball doesn't mean that you're trying to pass it to the goalkeeper, which is what
No,
he's going through. I'm with
but where
Gavin
else
on
is he
this.
going to send it?
This was
He's facing goal.
It's
man.
a bad touch.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's the vibe I got. I think that I mean, so I mentioned how I think Tori Penso is one of the best referees. Without a doubt, the best referee in MLS is Drew Fisher. There's no question in my mind. I will literally fight someone over that, which is a weird thing to fight over, but you know, I guess I've got a lot of time on my hands. But no, like I've got no problems. I mean, Drew Fisher, the one thing it's he does a better job at game management than any other MLS. Like there are times that I've seen like players acting insane, like petulant children, and he literally just like walks up to them and is like, hey, calm down. And literally they just like it's like he has this like weird like mind power over them, and they're just like, oh, okay. So yeah, if Cincinnati fans have a problem with Drew Fisher, I mean, I think at some point, I think fans invent things to cope with things. Like, I mean, yeah, again, referees are human and stuff, right? But I can guarantee you, Drew Fisher does not go, Cincinnati. You know what? I'm going to make sure to give the other team a little bit better one. That's just not what he's doing, right? Like these guys, like they are being scrutinized. Like they are assessed multiple times over every single game. If there's obvious flaws like that or obvious issues, these guys are kicked out of the league. I mean, it's just
Are they though?
they are dude. There are good referees waiting, knocking on the door. I mean, there are good referees that are fourth officials in the VAR booth waiting for an opportunity to get it. So, yeah,
Well, get
there
more of them,
absolutely
man.
are.
Hey, you know what? On the topic of referees that we think are good, because I'm curious what Gavin's
Well,
going to say, but
hold on, just quick. I will say that I think both penalty calls were kind of soft, so I think they balance each other out. I think both of them could have went uncalled, but I think since he called the first one for Nashville, I think that played into his thinking for giving the handball. I think both were soft, but you can go ahead
Yeah,
with your question.
and it's that clear and obvious thing, right? Like whatever the call was on the field, there was not going to be enough evidence either way to overturn it. So, but yeah, Gavin nailed it. At least it was consistently soft for both teams.
yeah, I will agree on that one for sure. No way VAR was overturning either of those. Like it's one of those things where you look at it and it's just like, is there contact? Yeah. Is it a lot of contact? No, but there was contact, so you're gonna default with the referee on that one. And the fans are on both sides are gonna complain about it, and they
I
did
don't know.
complain
I'm
about
just
it.
wondering how Cincinnati fans are complaining when you walk away with the win. Like it just seems
Oh
like
yeah,
you want something to complain about.
every single Cincinnati fan that I talked to was like, we didn't deserve 3 points in that, but we'll take it.
They definitely didn't deserve 3 points. I do agree with that.
Yeah. The fans knew that one too. Okay, back to the original question, just because we now know Beau's preference on this one. Gavin, who do you think is the best referee in the league?
I honestly would need to look at a list of referees and tell you, because I can't think of any off the top of my head. If you start listing out some names, I do like okay, no. I do like
What about
what's his
the
name?
however guy?
No, I actually
No?
he's decent. I don't think he's amazing at
Okay.
some
What about
things.
my personal favorite? I'd take Ismail Elfath. I like Elfath. I think
He's
he rightly got called up to some World Cup matches.
Ismail's really good.
My only personal gripe with him is one game he refed for Orlando City. I thought he managed the time terribly, but that was literally one game. It was actually against Cincinnati. But
I think he
that's
managed
just
the time perfectly.
yeah,
in
I'm
that
sure. Yeah,
specific game.
we also managed to lose, so that's probably why.
Weird. Funny how
Who's
that
the young Hispanic guy?
Victor Rivas?
Yes, I tend to like Victor Rivas. I think that's who he is. I'll look up a picture real quick. Victor.
Yeah,
Rivas.
I like the.
Yes, I like him.
I'm big. You like him? I'm a big fan of Joe Dickerson's good. Fotis Pazakos is really good. I think I said that right. I'm pretty sure. If not, I really do apologize.
I think from
Um,
a watchability standpoint, Philip, I don't know if it's Ducic. It's the however guy. There was a penalty committed. However,
yes, I like
yeah,
him a lot too. Yeah.
from a watchability standpoint, I'm always waiting for the however. All right. Well, hey, fun diversion there. It sounds like I'm shouting to the void. Old man shouts at clouds
The
this
only
week.
one I'll give you, not the only one I'll give you, but another item that happened this week was Christian Ramirez's goal against Orlando City
That
looked
was offside.
pretty visibly offside, and
Very much so.
VAR didn't send to the whoever to the monitor or pull it back. I don't even know if they have to go to the monitor, but that was pretty disappointing from an Orlando City perspective to not see that one called, because it was pretty clear and obvious that he was offside.
I think that might have been that was definitely the worst call of the weekend. I think it's up there so far for worst call of the year so far, because I mean he was off by, it looked like a solid foot.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was pretty
it
bad.
looked, and even I know it gets all weird with camera angles and the trigonometry and stuff. And there's actually a really cool guy on Twitter who does stuff where he actually looks at does the
I know the account you're
trigonometry.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with this one, like it was pretty clear. But again, maybe they know something I don't know. But I'd bet just about everything I have pretty safely that he was offside.
Yeah. In fact, I remember that account getting into it with some Cincinnati fans. That specifically one of the louder accounts on social media that
Yes,
I think you
that
can
was
all
one of the
probably.
playoff goals. It was they were
Mhm.
complaining about it being offsides, but he was on by like half an inch or something.
Yeah, and they got into a spat about lens distortion on that thread. And I still remember it quite well. It's another one of those iconic soccer threads that you occasionally see pop up.
You're grasping for straws whenever you start talking about lens distortion, about whether or not someone's onside or offside or not. You're talking about, yeah, like sub inches at that point.
Yeah. Well, either way, very very fun, very fun.
But this isn't the
To follow
MLS
all that.
Referee Now podcast.
It's not, but it may as well be at this point. No. Okay. Let's talk about the actual matches, and before we dive into that, another topic, this time about the matches, not the refs. Guys, ball watching was incredible this weekend. Like, just offhand, right? NYCFC, ball watching. Atlanta United, ball watching. FC Cincinnati, ball watching. I mean, like, there's more. You could probably list loads of teams this weekend. I bet Gavin could list some. Beau, I bet you could list some. Like, ball watching was pervasive this weekend, and I don't know what it is. Like, do either of you have a theory? Like, is this players like mentally blanking, do you think? Is it tactics where, maybe you're overwhelmed and you're like, I don't know what my assignment is supposed to be anymore? Is it just like you're out of the game, you're, getting like dispirited? Like, what do you guys think on this?
I'll go first. I don't know. I don't remember if you said St. Louis or not, but St. Louis was definitely ball watching on Zuni's goal. He just kind of stopped running, and everyone kept running, and you see the team perfectly line up into four center backs basically in the 6 yard box, and Azuni's just standing there, and he just puts the ball in the back. It's just terrible. Yeah, ball watching. I think it's probably something that just we caught on to this weekend. But I do recall, like, I bet if we go back and look at a lot of goals across the league over the past few seasons, even, I'm sure a lot of them we can see a lot of ball watching errors. I think it's a defensive issue for the league. A few years ago, I used to have issues with clearances. I feel like clearances have gotten a little better, but you would see consistently a lot of goals happen where it was a botched clearance and it was just this trend. And I think that clearances have gotten a little better over time. Obviously, not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But I think ball watching is now the next thing that we're going to see and start to say, hey, this is a problem. A lot of teams, a lot of players are doing this, and it's got to get better. It's got to improve. The coaching's got to improve in that aspect.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely a very big part of it. I think also too, we're still pretty early in the season. Defenses are like their own kind of living organism. Like a defensive unit is almost its own separate team, right? They're doing their own thing, and so communication is really important. Knowing a guy's tendencies. So maybe someone is assuming that another guy has a runner or something. You just this early in the season, I mean, you definitely expect it, right? Like, I mean, we're still getting, really bad first touches where, like, in the spoiler alert, the Seattle game, Alex rolled on, passed it right to Beau. Was it Beau LaRue? Um, just passed it right to him at the top of the box. And was like, hey man, you look like you want a goal. And so there's still all kinds of errors. And I think also situationally it could depend, right? Some teams are pushing, wing backs high up. So maybe a center back is assuming that's supposed to be the wing backs guy, but the wing back hasn't been back to recover. It could be late arriving midfielders. It could be a lot of stuff. But I do think that has been one thing I've noticed is ball watching is a big thing. Another thing that drives me crazy is off ball movement. There's just not a lot of it. Like it drives me crazy. That's the biggest thing. When I I coach soccer. I'm just like, dude, the game is won and lost off the ball. That's why, like, to me, Brian White is one of the best strikers in MLS because he does so much work off the ball, dragging defenders around, moving defenses, creating opportunities for other players, and that goes the same thing with wing backs, center backs, midfielders. But there's just too much standing around, and that's what drives me crazy. But again, different topic for a different day.
The topic could be today, though, Beau. It could be. I will say, I think that's why I get so much enjoyment out of San Diego this season because similar to Columbus Crew, right? Like Mikey Varas, Wilfred Nancy, they have players moving off the ball very well, but I don't have the bias of a rivalry against San Diego like I do Columbus. So like I can purely enjoy them and be like, I have zero stake in this match. I can just enjoy a really, really well coached team where players are moving and they're getting open and you're seeing like flowing soccer. And it makes them fun to watch. And we're gonna talk about, like we said, potentially one of the best matches on the weekend. I mean, it was certainly one of the most riveting 45 minutes we've seen in quite a while. But for later in the episode on that one. But I agree, Beau. But not every team performs that way off the ball, and I would argue, in fact, that most do not perform that way. And that'll probably be the evolution of the league is when you can start to get 20 teams, 25 teams where they are moving off the ball, where they're creating opportunities, where there's passing outlets, and you can, not just rely on one guy to be your progressive pass target. and it'd be like, oh, he's marked. Well, I guess I'll just kick it all the way back to the center backs and we'll reset and try again. And it's like, no, we're gonna have fast paced, creative, inspiring soccer.
I do want to say that if someone from San Diego FC media relations or PR has not like sent you a jersey or a hat or some type of package because of how like pro San Diego you have been, that they are straight up not doing their job. So if you know someone at the San Diego front office, they need to get Russell some swag because he has been San Diego till he dies from day one. They're just straight up not doing their job, man.
Since day one of the preseason. But honestly,
Yeah,
I'm enjoying
close
jumping
enough.
around team to team every single season in the West Coast. I feel like I'm learning more about like a city and a style every single season. Last year was Vancouver. This year San Diego. Who knows? Maybe next year I'll do another
Become a
team.
Columbus fan.
That's not a West Coast team. I could be a Nashville fan if they get moved back to the Western Conference someday. That was a very fun year when they were out west. But yeah. Okay. Guys, let's talk about the actual matches themselves. We're going to start off with New England Revolution, New York Red Bulls 2-1 win for the Revolution. I think it's their first match that they won this season. Caleb Porter's job clearly safe for the rest of the season. Never going to be gotten rid of now. That's the conclusion that I've drawn from this.
Yeah, this was the game that Carlos Hill just decided that Caleb Porter, he really likes Caleb Porter. That Carlos Hill literally carried this team. If you haven't seen, Carlos Hill had an incredible free kick goal. Just incredible. Luca Langoni looked really, really good this game up and down the right side. He kept carrying the ball deep in with some really dangerous cutbacks. Yeah, there were actually some pretty decent moments in this. I have no notes written for the Red Bulls, so I don't know what that says about that. But yeah, I actually enjoyed watching a Revs game for the first time this year.
Well, that says that the Red Bulls weren't very good, and they weren't. I mean, they weren't very convincing at all. They had like two chances in the game. They scored one of them through Choupo-Moting. The other one they just didn't create really a dangerous opportunity out of. And from there, it was pretty boring stuff actually. And I think a lot of that was down to the Revolution's defense. I think that they held them at bay, but also the Red Bulls offense is nothing exciting at the moment. It's the same as last year. They're gonna try and get transition opportunities, but they're not gonna be able to create through their own creativity for most of the season. So
Kind of
that's
makes
kind of
me
where they're
wonder.
at.
Kind of makes me wonder, like, how important do we underestimate how important John Tolkien was to this attack? His ability to bomb up and down the left hand side and get. I mean, first of all, he was incredible at serving up corners and free kick set piece specialist. But
That's what got them into the final. They scored a
yeah,
set piece in the Eastern Conference final.
exactly. I just wonder if his offensive threat coming in being somewhat of a threat offensively is not a bigger miss than maybe we let on for.
Could
Yeah,
be.
I mean, if we think about it,
That's
right?
the only major outgoing, right? Like I'm trying to figure out that's the only real one that changed, right?
It's the only major defensive piece I can think of that changed.
Yeah, yeah.
But
They still got Lewis Morgan, right? Yeah, he's just out.
Morgan
Yeah,
Forsberg.
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Beau, I almost feel like I'm drawing parallels in my mind with someone like Kai Wagner, where Wagner as well was like he had phenomenal delivery for Philadelphia. Still does, I guess he still plays for Philadelphia, but I'm thinking of, he was out, I believe, for a spell last season, and without him, they looked rudderless.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I mean those are I mean, Tolkien was, an all-star, like top three in the position, and that's just and there's a reason why European teams were sniffing and circling around him because I think he's solid defensively and he's pretty good going forward. So I don't know, maybe something I need to dig in a little bit deeper on the stats and stuff. But that was just kind of something I was thinking as we were talking about, you know, like Goni going up and down the right hand side. What if Tolkien was there
Yeah,
defending that?
well, that's a good shout. And I'm going to continue the trend, right? Think of last season when Luca Orishano was playing as wingback. I mean, that's like it is a good left back, right back, wing backs, all that are good players there the next step where MLS needs to start investing because they're going to look at it and say these are attacking opportunities that we're missing out on because we don't have the quality to deliver the balls in and shift our guys who are further upfield and get them closer to the box because right now they're being forced to stay on the outside wings and feed balls in when really we should be getting them towards the box to be more guys who are going to either get ahead onto a ball or they're going to be an outlet for a cutback, or they're going to be, a second runner on a, contested ball.
Yeah, fullbacks are super important both offensively and defensively. Everything you just listed there offensively. I mean, just thinking of Orlando City, I think one thing that's improved the attack this season is Alex Freeman on the right side is an offensive threat that Dagger Don just wasn't last season. Dagger Don scored a couple goals, but he didn't bring the same threat that Freeman brings, both in the air and a crossing ability. And so now we have two fullbacks who can go up the field and be a threat versus last year it was we had Rafael Santos on the left who can serve in a pretty good cross, and then Dagger Don on the right who was just like a midfielder basically who could pass the ball around and be technical, but was never going to really threaten goal that much. Defensively, I think fullbacks are so important because they are up against the attacking wingers, the most dangerous players on the and creative players on the opponent's team usually. And they're a lot of the times doing it 1v1 and they have to win those battles and they have to own that zone of the pitch and really stop a lot of attacks. So I think fullbacks are extremely important defensively, and teams with strong fullbacks that allows you to go on and have a strong attack. Really, I think fullbacks are insanely important to having a strong attack.
Yeah,
I think that's the evolution.
No, you're 100% right. Like they are incredibly important, but you kind of talked about, is that the next evolution? I don't think so because I think every other team in the world has realized how important fullbacks are, and they're starting to go for a premium. I mean, like, the most expensive players in the world right now are wingers, right? And a lot of teams are switching to three at the back, which means you have wing backs on the outside, which, for those of you older guys, that would be like you're in a 4-4-2, like the wing backs are now playing like the left mid, right mid equivalent, right? They're expected to go up and down all the ways. And so those guys are starting to go for a really big premium. And so I think that that's one of those positions that I think you might start to see a lot of maybe teams use that U22 spot on, trying to get young guys in with the potential to develop with a massive sell on, in hopes, like a Alfonso Davies kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think that Gavin absolutely nailed it perfectly with just how incredibly important those are. I mean, look at some of the best teams. You've got uh, LAFC, right? Sergei Palencia and Ryan Hollingshead. Cincinnati. Oh wait, no, they're not very good at the moment. So let's not do that.
No disagreements there. Cincinnati need to figure out what's going on. But guys, we're gonna go right back to the agenda real quick. Anything else to add on New England versus New York Red Bulls before I move us? Light speed, full speed ahead. Toronto 0, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Guys, I want to talk about this match, but the rule is 0-0 matches don't get much to talk about.
Well, then we'll eat up the airtime with this because I totally forgot a correspondent corner on the last match.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's right. We had Matt Glenn send in a correspondent corner.
So I'll be quick.
Yeah.
He said this is from a New England Revolution perspective. He says on a balmy 40-degree afternoon, a little more than 12,500 fans showed up to Gillette Stadium. A surprising number were Red Bulls fans, with Jonathan Kraft present. 6-year Revs veteran and former MVP Carlos Hill scored a brace to edge the Red Bulls 2-1. Porter is still the coach, at least until they visit Cincinnati on Saturday. It's good to have a win in 2025, but these facts remain. The Revs haven't scored a goal in open play, and none of Porter's signings have scored a goal yet this season. I would love nothing more for this to have been the spark the team needs, but one game does not a turnaround make.
Agree.
Very well said,
Matt. There is a conversation topic in there that we are about, what constitutes a turnaround and when do you not fire a coach. But this is not the episode considering we're like 40 minutes into this recording.
Which we've kind of
Okay,
been burying the lead on this one with some pretty big news today. We're talking about
we're gonna talk about it.
referees and everything. Sorry, my bad.
We're gonna
Sorry.
talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. It's coming later. It's coming later. Beau, you're gonna get to lead off on it too. Is the great part. Like this is the match that you get to take point on. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Be patient. Good things come to those who wait, Beau. That said, Toronto, Vancouver, Toronto is not good. That's my overall takeaway. Not good. They rightly belong in the Sporting Kansas City tier that we put them in last week.
Yeah, and Vancouver, we must not forget Vancouver have CONCACAF Champions Cup coming up this week, so they were kind of not going full tilt for this one, and it was just a weird game. Like a lot of chances created off of corners for Vancouver, and Toronto weren't really creating that much. Just a 0-0 bleh game.
Yeah, that little to read into. So, Beau, anything to add on that? Otherwise, I'm going to take us forward. All right, moving us on then. Hey, Colorado versus Charlotte. So this one was in Colorado, the Mile High City. It's 2-0 win for Colorado. It's a good win considering we're pretty high on Charlotte right now. Meanwhile, Colorado, like they've looked like a pretty competent team this season. They've had some ups and downs, some matches where you're like, you probably should have won that. Some matches where you're like, hey, nice, that's a good win. So, I'm putting this one into the hey, nice, that's a good win column for Colorado because look, I mean, Charlotte's not bad right now. They're doing much better than people suspected. So, Beau, I'm gonna throw it to you first for thoughts on Colorado versus Charlotte.
Yes, let me pull up my notes here. Sorry. I have Mihailovic goes off. Mihailovic just was absolutely awesome. He kind of showed glimpses again, kind of that he might be back to what he was last year. Last year he was, kind of that, you have like your clear like tier one MVP candidates, like Evander, Cucho, Messi, and I think like Mihailovic was like in that like tier two category. Which speaking of which, if you guys haven't, he almost pulled something off incredible that I haven't seen before, at least at this level. If you guys haven't seen it, watch the highlights. He fakes the goalkeeper out on a free kick and nearly scores a goal. Like it was really cool. It is absolutely worth a watch. But Colorado they're got off to a slow start, but looks like they might be kind of kicking into gear. I've kind of wondered.
Kind of.
I don't know. Colorado honestly is a team that I kind of they have me scratching my head at times because sometimes they look really good and then sometimes I'm like, how in the world is this? Like sometimes they don't even look like a playoff team. And so I don't know where they're going to land because it's a pretty big zone where they can land in between there. But they showed, Charlotte is no slouch and they went and took care of business. So there's definitely hope, but there's also a little bit of cause to worry because of the inconsistency.
Yeah. Hey, random tangent, Beau, that you've given me a thought of just now. What's your favorite / most impressive? Like, I can't believe they just attempted that, or I can't believe they just did that moment. Following, I was gonna say following Dallas, but you can pick another team if there's one that stands out to you.
Are you talking like
And
don't or like?
Well, that's kind of why I was using the one for Dallas, just like within history for like watching.
Oh
for your
man,
team. Because otherwise, we would all be taking like the Zlatan like goal or something like that, right? But
man, I don't
or
know.
you'd be taking like the Wayne Rooney kicks it all the way to Acosta, like 80 yards up the field, and then he like wins a header.
That was pretty insane. I think a lot of I don't know. There's some stuff where it's you have guys trying to get fancy and then they totally screw it up. Like the one that I think of is, Anthony, the famous meme, like Anthony with Manchester United dribbles, does all this fake stuff and dribbles like straight out of bounds. That's the stuff I remember and like more where it's like dudes who try to be like skill check and then they just totally fail. That's That's kind of more my vibe. But as to stuff that they absolutely tried to do, I mean, back in the day, Daniel Hernandez was a FC Dallas player, center defensive mid, and he tried some tackles that, or some pretty insane like throat chops and like clothes hanger stuff that he thought he was going to get away with. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. He did some stuff, and he did get away with some of it, but there's also many times he didn't. Um, I don't know. Of late, Lucho Acosta, I'm so tired of any time if like someone sneezes on him, he falls down and grabs his face. It's
Correct.
actually it
That
is
is Lucho.
actually like it's so frustrating to watch. I hate that so much. But yeah, so maybe that's it. It's going to go to Lucho because a moth landed on his head and he went down grabbing his head and he he tried to sell the ref on it.
The crazy part, Bo, is you're gonna say this, and like a month or two from now, Lucho's gonna dribble 5 guys against like Portland or something and score an absolute worldie, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh!"
Maybe. Maybe I don't know if you've watched enough of FC Dallas to know how that's not going to happen, but yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Gavin, what about you? While we're on the tangent,
None come to mind. Just like crazy
no
stuff.
fun. Yeah,
Like
absolutely no fun at all.
Orlando doesn't do crazy things.
Orlando doesn't do fun, is what you're meaning to say.
We're very we're very dedicated business like team who just no creativity.
I know it's past me, but I'm
Noted.
going to go ahead and say it. I did come up with it. Last year, Paul Arriola threw it off of the face of a Sporting KC defender. He was trying to do a throw in, and the Sporting KC defender was like standing in front and jumping up and down. So Arriola just threw it right in his face. And
Love that.
it was wonderful. Like I've thought about doing that so many times in the game. I've just never had the guts to do it. And then the guy comes up and like gets in his face, and Arriola goes down, grabs his face, and draws and Kansas City got a red card. But it's funny because Arriola grabs his face, and then before the referee even comes over, he removes his hands from his face and looks up at the guy and is laughing maniacally, like literally, like straight up, like evil Cartoon Network character laugh, and just knowing what he did, and it was amazing. And Paul, if you're listening, thank you so much.
Like the only thing he was missing in that moment was like a curled black mustache and a monocle.
Exactly, and like a cat in his hand that he could pet.
Yeah. And he's like turning around. He's like, billions.
I feel like someone, Russell,
$1
what is
billion.
yours? I feel like someone needed to ask Russell, what is yours?
I had to come up with one while I was asking this question, and I'm gonna say it was the attempted rainbow back when Brenner was with FCC. He did not score that, but like he came real close. And if he did, it would have been like greatest goal of all time in Cincinnati history.
I guess that reminds me
It's
of
a short
when
history.
No, Gavin. Remember, Orlando City doesn't do fun. You can't
well
have an
we
opinion.
sold him. It reminds me of when Urchin Kara, the most unathletic player in Orlando City history, scored a bicycle kick against Tigres in CONCACAF Champions League. It's the most random bicycle kick goal ever. But yeah.
You say you don't do fun, but you stick center backs in between the posts for shootouts. So
Yes,
I don't
Rodrigo
know
Schlegel. That one came to
if
mind as
yes.
well.
I was like, I don't know if you don't do fun. Like I can't think of anything more fun to watch than that, actually.
That was insane. Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't pick it, but here we are. All right.
Speaking
Okay.
of Miami,
We're going.
Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. Miami, Philadelphia.
Well, now that you mention it, Russell.
Hey, yeah. Now that I mention it, Miami, Philadelphia was a match that happened this weekend. Lionel Messi was in fact on the field for this one, and many people were overjoyed.
And the score
It's a
sheet.
2-1 win. Yeah, and he was on the score sheet. Yep, he gets the goal like 2 minutes or maybe like 3 minutes after he subs on. Just doing Messi things, but it ends up 2-1 win for Miami. Yeah, I mean it could have been a lot closer. It wasn't, but it could have been. It could have been 2-2. Could have been 2-3.
I was
Philadelphia
hoping
probably could
for
have
more
scored
out of
more.
this game. Was anyone else? I was really hoping for a little more from
Teams are
Philadelphia on
just
this.
teams are just so weird when they play Miami.
Yeah,
Defensively, they are poor. They're not as aggressive. Because they're afraid of Suarez and Messi, and it is what it is.
It's
Offensively,
got to be more
though,
mental than anything
it is
else.
mental. Offensively, it feels like they snatch at shots. They don't take their chances as much. Like Miami gets away with so much, it feels like every single game. Not every game, but many games against top opponents. And it's just like Philadelphia could have scored, like you said, a couple of more goals, 2 or 3 goals. And yeah, Miami could have had another one too. But like, ay, 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 Philadelphia, what was going on?
Miami's kind of like the car wreck, like the flaming car wreck on the side of the road. You drive by and you're like, I know I'm holding up traffic. I know that I'm the problem, but I can't look away. And that's kind of what this is. It's like, man, you don't know what you're going to get from Miami, but you know that they're going to make mistakes defensively. And it's the other team, like, you're going to get chances. That's just the thing. It's that Miami's going to finish their chances, so you better finish yours.
See, this is why my wife and I have a good system. When we're on a road trip, if I see an accident, I go, hun, I need you to look at this accident and tell me what it is so I can focus on driving. I need all the details. I'm putting you on car wreck watch.
That is an unbreakable system.
Look, it's great. It just shows pure trust in a relationship.
And only one-sided trauma, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And then she can trauma dump on me right away.
That's a trap question. I'm not falling for that.
Yeah. Anyways, Gavin, you already gave some thoughts on this. Beau, what about you? Do you have anything?
No, I wanted more. It was weird. So the first goal I actually pointed out. It's funny. I actually pause it and tell my wife, I'm like, hey, look at this. Like, I see what they're trying to do with the high press. So the very first goal, they pass the ball between the center backs, and it's interesting. You see Baribo, and instead of closing down the center back, in a straight line, he makes this weird curved run. Which what he's doing is he's shutting the pass off to the other center back. So he has to play it forward, which is Jordi Alba. And so the other Philadelphia people see it. So it's a perfectly set trap. So the midfielders come over, the ball gets to Jordi Alba. There are 4 defenders around Jordi Alba. And so I pause it and I look at my wife and I go, look at this. Like, this is just excellently, like, this is perfectly executed. And I said, but here's a problem. And I was like, this is Jordi Alba. And I hit play, and sure enough, he beautiful, like, little pass right between the defenders, and then straight off go, and then that's how the first goal happens. And it's just kind of one of those that Philadelphia executed what they were supposed to do, right? Like, Philadelphia, they got the ball isolated on the sideline, right? Like Alba, like, there's a sideline behind him, right? Like, it's perfect. You got 4 defenders. He can't go anywhere, but they just have the quality to get out of in this case, it's perfect execution. And so, yeah, that was just something I saw. It's like, man, Philadelphia had a game plan. They capitalized on it. Or sorry, they executed it. But Miami is just there's just too much. They have too much quality where they're able to overcome and create moments where there probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, none more so than the second goal, Messi's goal. I mean, it's just a simple 1v1 with the defender, and he's Lionel Messi, and he takes his man on and scores. Not many other players do that consistently in the world, and Messi is still doing it pretty consistently. So that's just the Miami cheat code. They just have the best players. Who knew?
Yeah, the one thing I just saw over and over this weekend was the unfinished 1v1s. There were a lot of 1v1 opportunities that, good players like Boanga, um, Chucky Lozano, like 1v1s with the keeper, and they just did not finish it. But Messi, you give him one chance, and he's going to take it, and that's why he's the greatest. It's fun to watch. Also very frustrating.
Frustrating to watch the commercials. I'm assuming you're saying, Beau, where
No,
Messi's in
Michelob
all of
Ultra.
them.
No, Michelob
Yeah,
Ultra.
Michelob Ultra, Lay's, Lowe's. What else? What else we got? Do we have a Messi catalog of all the commercials that he's in?
Do we have a Messi Continental Tire yet?
We have like everything else, and then Home Depot has like they were like we could get either Messi or we could get like 7 other MLS players for half the cost.
Messi sits on the bench built by Home Depot.
Ooh, well, I'll tell you what.
Lowe's didn't
Sometimes
see
he
that
doesn't
one
even
coming.
sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Sometimes he sits in his house, probably filled with Pottery Barn furniture.
Pour one out for our people in Houston where Messi has not shown up for 3 times in a row. Pouring one out for you guys, man.
All right.
Could you
Well, hey,
imagine? Could you
guys,
imagine 3 times spending $600 a ticket and then Messi doesn't show up 3 separate times? Imagine how so it was over the last 2 years Messi's been here. Inter Miami has gone to Houston 3 times and Messi has never once come. That would just be so much money.
I mean,
Fool me once,
I
shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times,
about
shame on me
Shame on
again.
Messi.
Yeah, shame on Messi.
Maybe Messi should do like a travel insurance or like a ticket protection commercial.
Are you afraid I won't come to your match?
Buy. Who are some sponsors of ticket? Buy SeatGeek's ticket protection. If your star player doesn't show up, get a refund for 2/3 of your ticket cost down to the original face price. Never be afraid to spend $600 on a ticket again.
To get $200 back.
Yeah, get 200. You might shoot if it's Houston. You're probably getting what, $500 back per ticket?
In store credit.
Yeah, in SeatGeek store credit. Has to be used within 30 days. Okay, we're gonna move on because I've had enough of this. Atlanta versus NYCFC. The original ball watching kickoff point for this episode. A lot of fun though. Absolutely a blast. Zero defense was performed in this match, for the record.
I mean, that just seems to be I think we should just leave that in the notes for Atlanta. Defense is problem. We could just leave that there for next week. That just is the theme of their season.
Yeah, they know that.
So, I mean, yeah, crazy back and forth game, defense bad. I'm more interested in your guys' thoughts on the winning goal. There was a argument between Thiago Martins and Matt Freese right after the goal went in because of some frustration. Who do you guys place more of the blame on for Latte Loth's goal?
Yeah, Matt Freese.
I think Freese, but I will say this. I have played with center backs who do that exact thing where I'm the goalkeeper. I have not yelled keeper. I have not called for the ball. And you have just decided that I'm going to come get the ball, even though I'm incredibly far away. But you have just made up your mind that you're going to get it. So I want to say Freese, but because that was kind of my first thing. But then when I started to look at it, I was like, man, he had a lot of time to get rid of that ball. He was just hanging on to it for Freese to just magically teleport there and get the ball.
Yeah, Thiago Martins is yelling at Matt Freese and focusing on Matt Freese rather than doing his job and clearing the ball. If he was not being, bitchy towards Matt Freese in that moment, and he just chests the ball down and kicks it out for a corner or whatever because it's an awkward situation, we're not talking about this. It's 3-3 still. Instead, he's, like you said, Beau, randomly assumed that Matt Freese is going to come and get that ball. And then Matt Freese didn't call for it. And then he lets it bounce. It hits off his chest. He's still looking at Matt Freese. And then he just doesn't do anything. If you're in that situation, just clear the ball. Just kick it away. It was terrible from Martins, in my opinion. I placed 95% of it on him. Matt Freese could have come, absolutely, but he didn't. And so as the center back in that situation, clear the ball. It's really that simple.
Yeah, no, I think that most times the modern keeper is supposed to come out and get the ball. For me personally, I'm not that adventurous. I want to stay by my posts, and I feel like I'm going to have a better shot making the save than I am going to, maybe winning a 50-50 ball. But yeah, I'm with you on this, is that I think it might be there's a lot to process when Latte Loth is coming behind you, right? You have the ball bounce in front of you, there's a lot going on. But you need to be able to look at this and instantly realize the situation and just clear it out. But he wasn't able to do that. He sat there and he goes, he should be getting the ball. I think he should be getting the ball. Looking at him, why aren't you getting the ball? And it's too late.
Totally get where you guys are coming from. I do.
But
However, Matt Freese needs to communicate that as the guy in goal with eyes, knowing that he's the one making the decision on his end, that he's not going to come get that. And he needs to say, get it out, clear it, or say, I'm not coming there. Like, when the expectation is that the keeper's going to come to it and you're not going to do the expected thing, you gotta say something.
I'm sure at this level that something was said. I mean,
I hope so.
I mean, I'm not a professional, and like I call that out, right? Like Matt Freese is the top 5 goalie in this league, and he does a really good job at organizing his defense. I can guarantee you he called something out. Now, whether or not it was heard is something completely different, right? But um, they were
I would
in
hope
it.
so.
They were in Atlanta for this one, right?
Yeah, I would hope that he called it out. It's just like, even if he didn't, Thiago Martins is getting to the ball first pretty clearly, and then he does get to the ball first. Yeah, I'm assuming he called out, but even if he didn't, it is Thiago Martins' responsibility. It is his ball. And so, as a goalkeeper in that situation, it's very, very awkward. He's not, why go running out? We see so many times goalkeepers that do go run out, barge into the player, don't get the ball, and it falls to the opponent, and it's a goal. Lot's very fast. You don't know if he's going to poke around to get there first. Just very awkward situation. But for me, it's Thiago Martins, but I think the communication is a good point, Russell.
And I mean, this kind of goes back to what we said earlier, right? People ball watching. This was what week, was this week 6 or 5?
Yep.
I mean, they've only had a month and a half of actual real competitive games. And that's just where this communication, knowing another guy's tendencies, this and that, picking up on the habits is going on. But I also can't not believe that the Atlanta crowd was not a factor in this. I think that it's very possible that there was communication, but they couldn't hear it because they're getting drowned out by the crowd. In which case, I mean, literally, this is the thing where, maybe Atlanta crowd was the 12th man on the field at that point.
Well, let's
Could
see what
very well be.
Beyond the Smokestacks podcast has to say on the matter for
Yeah,
our correspondent corner.
this will be excellent. We always love when Coach Joe,
Yes.
has something to say.
He says, things were going great until they weren't. Searching for only our second win in Atlanta all time, NYCFC capitalized on a couple Atlanta gaffes until NYCFC returned the favor. Thiago Martins forgets how to play soccer, and Latte Loth punishes him near the death to escape the first ever Ronnie Dyla Cup match with an unearned 3 points. Even with Miguel Almiron back, this iteration of Atlanta United isn't that scary to go up against.
Many people are saying that about Atlanta. It's actually very interesting that despite losing, that NYC can look at that and rightly say, yeah, that team was not scary and we probably should have done better. Food for thought.
Kind of wish Bryce was here because I just kind of had a nice little trade thing. Is it Ajune Fortune? Isn't he a striker for Atlanta? Is he striker or winger?
I want to say he's got maybe both, forward winger. I feel like I've seen him in
I
both
was just
positions.
thinking Atlanta really needs help at defense, and they have excess offensive talent. And I happen to know of a team who has excess defensive talent that really needs some offense.
Go on.
It's like a
Beau,
certain
who could you
Real
possibly be
Salt
thinking?
Lake. Just saying, but I know most of that. I don't know if you heard, our listeners, but the Real Salt Lake, they're trying to sell the team. So, but I don't know if,
We're
but
gonna get to that.
that could work. That could possibly potentially get around that and fix both teams' problems.
Fortune is listed as either a defensive midfielder, central midfielder, attacking midfielder, or left winger.
Man, I know I've seen him play striker last year, or maybe that was just the game plan from last year. I thought I remember maybe he just drifted center a lot. Maybe that was the game plan, but I would have bet I could have swore I've seen him in the middle.
Well, maybe he's doing the old Yuya Kubo impression. All right, guys, I'm going to keep us moving on because there's still a lot of matches to talk about, and I'm assuming at least one of you needs to wake up at a reasonable time tomorrow. So we're going to keep rolling. We're going to talk about DC United versus Columbus. It's a 2-1 win on the road for Columbus. For me, the headline here of the night is Christian Benteke is still the best player on DC United, and DC United still do not win unless Christian Benteke carries them to the win, which is a problem. Beau, what about you? And you can agree with me and tell me I'm very smart, and there'll be no judgments if you were to want to say that.
I won't lie, I only saw about 5 minutes of this game. So I
You
don't
probably saw enough then.
really have a ton, but I did see Benteke's goal, and that was the first thing. Is I was like, the only note I had was Christian Benteke is good at soccer, so kind of says
Yeah,
it all.
nothing new.
He is. Yeah.
We don't have to spend too much time on this game. I just think the main note I wanted to call out was I thought DC United's goalkeeper was pretty poor throughout the match, and this I feel like there is a non-international goalkeeper out there that can do just as good as this guy's doing. And so I think it's a bit of a waste of an international spot because I think he's like South Korean, I think, or I'll have to go
Yeah, but
verify that.
isn't he
But
like 22 or 23 or something? I mean, he's
I
pretty
mean,
young,
he's
and
young for
goalkeeper is
sure.
very much an experienced position.
I guess that yes, absolutely is. I just from what I've seen so far in his short time at DC United, he doesn't look like someone who's going to ascend to be one of the best goalkeepers in the league. He looks like he will be average, but early on.
We can hope for average at this point.
Well, hey, I mean, like you said, Beau, is goalkeeper. It's like goalkeeper and center back seem to be those positions where you'll just get someone who turns 34, 35, and then just becomes amazing at the position. Like Tim Ream was like a very average for the league center back. And now everyone's like, oh my gosh, Tim Ream is incredible. He's like, one of like your top defenders for his team and maybe even like a top one in the league and like a clear starter for the US men's national team. And it's like those conversations weren't being had, earlier in his career in his quote unquote prime.
Which should just show that, like, when you have a guy like Adelson Milano, the center back at Charlotte, or Chris Brady in goal in Chicago, those guys who are that young and do that well and are consistently doing well, that those are incredible talents, and that should really, really catch your eye.
Yeah, great shout. We're gonna move on though to Chicago versus Montreal. Um, I have terrible, unfortunate news in that Montreal continue to not win. Uh, the further unfortunate news is that Chicago somehow manages to find a way to also not win against who I think might be one of the worst teams in the league, who
Montreal
are now
should
also
have won
without a
this
head
game.
coach.
Montreal should have won this game. Like, that's one of the things that I always look for whenever a coach is fired. Is I always think for about 2 to 3 weeks after, there's always a new coach bounce, and there was definitely a new coach bounce on this one. And honestly, it just came down to they were overloading sides is what they were doing. They were doing a really good job of overloads, and that's actually how Chicago ended up getting the first goal. Montreal overloads on the left hand side, and then Chicago wins the ball back, switches it across, and then you had two on one going the other way. That's the one bad thing about overloads. But no, Montreal should have probably gotten 3 points out of this. Prince Owosu had and I'm not saying like I'm not amazing at soccer. Okay, like I played it for a long time. But like I'm not amazing. Okay, I could have scored this goal. Like, it's just, I mean, literally, it's one of those that to not score this, I don't like criticizing players too much because I know it's difficult, but to miss this at this level is borderline unforgivable.
Yeah, it was criminal that chance that he didn't score, and just overall, I agree 100%. Montreal looked a completely different team for the first time since the first game this season. I think we can say they deserve to win, and for the first time in a long time before that. I think it's just they were doing overloads, but Chicago didn't know. Chicago weren't ready because they didn't know what was going to happen. It could have been a 3-4-2-1. It could have been a 4-4-2. It could have been a 4-5-1. You don't know, so it's kind of hard to plan for that. You're just kind of going out there and doing your system, and Montreal does know what Chicago is going to try and do, and so they can kind of go against that on purpose. Tim has a correspondent corner, so let me do that real quick. He says the Fire made it through March undefeated, including the team's first 3-game road winning streak since 2009. Somehow, however, a 1-1 draw at home against Montreal felt almost like a loss. The locker room afterwards was a somber place with players content to look at the ground or their shoes on the way out. Ahead of the game, Greg Berhalter said that he was wary about the possibility of complacency setting in after the 3 road wins. When I asked him about it after the game, he said he didn't think that complacency was the issue, instead saying that his squad failed to embrace what kind of game it was going to be, very physical with very aggressive defending 1 versus 1. He said, "We'll take the point and run because we didn't deserve a point." This week, the team are back on the road facing MLS Cup finalists New York Red Bulls, the start of a difficult stretch through April and May that sees the team face many of the toughest opponents in the Eastern Conference.
No notes.
Tim is good at what he does.
Yeah. It's almost like Tim, reports for a very reputable site that covers the Chicago Fire.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, MLS Now podcast.
Yeah.
Shameless
that's the one.
Plug. I love it.
Shameless plug. Hey, you can find Tim on social media at Sing Electric, or you can find his website he reports for, Men in Red 97, on social media there. You can go check Tim out if you want to know more about the Chicago Fire. All right.
Literally no one covers them better.
Yeah. I would maybe actually be willing to die on that hill.
Same, literally, like actually not being sarcastic.
Yes. Here's something. I've noticed that Gavin has left a very sarcastic note about this next match that we're going to be talking about, which is Nashville versus Cincinnati. And Gavin left a note here saying Benteke's penalty was kind of sus. And
that was my
Gavin,
thought.
I'm going to tell you right now, I can't believe that you would possibly bring up my well-known distaste for the stutter step penalty kick.
How about the walking backwards in the middle of your penalty kick?
Gavin, you know my opinions on this one. I hate the stutter step and like the stupid run-ups in penalty kicks. Just take the freaking penalty kick, man. Like, you
utter
practice,
woke nonsense.
No, you practice taking a shot on goal in a normal way. Like, you don't take a shot stutter stepping in a match, right? You just strike clean through the ball. Do that. Do the thing you practiced in the penalty kick situation where there's pressure on you and like it's a very important that you make this high percentage goal. Do the thing that you practice. Don't do the thing that's different than your normal, movement. You're going to get in your own head.
To be fair, he didn't get in his own head. He did score it.
He did not get in his own head. He did score it.
He made the goalie move, but like, my goodness, was that an illegal penalty?
And they never call it.
Did you see? It was Drew Fisher, right? He literally,
it was Drew Fisher,
because Zimmerman was complaining rightfully. I think I would have done the same thing. And he looks at him and goes, "Come on, man." He's like, "Come on, man. Like, we're not going to call that. Come on, man."
Yeah,
like,
they're never going to call it. And look, it benefits Cincinnati, and I will take it as a Cincinnati fan. But
I thought Drew Fisher hates Cincinnati.
Yeah,
that was a legal penalty.
Apparently. Yeah, 100%. Like, I cannot believe that they don't call those. And I would, if they called it on us, I wouldn't have had any complaints.
Oh, no, you would have. And so would every Cincinnati fan.
I would have. Yeah. And I would have directed it at Benteke, and I would have had this exact same outburst of, just do the normal run-up. Like, kick it like you normally would. But I'm doing that anyways, because I hate stutter step PKs. They just don't make... I don't see any benefit to them. Like, worst case scenario, they actually enforce the rule. Just like, when, what's his face? Like, Kieran Tierney and them for Arsenal were, like, getting called on foul throws in the Premier League a couple of years back. And it's just like, they never call foul throws on anyone except for, like, 3 players. Because, like, there's a couple guys who, like, it became obvious that they were doing it. And so refs only watched for them doing it. And people were like, well, everyone else does it. Why don't you call it on them? It's like, because they don't normally call it. Like, you've got to be really egregious about it for them to actually call it. But it's like, but they're right. Like, tons of people do foul throws and they don't call it. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Hey, the match itself, should talk about that, right? Nashville, I would say they are unfortunate. That's the word I'm going to use to describe a lot of this match for them. Because you know, Mukhtar probably buries that shot 8 times out of 10. Should have buried it. In this instance, that probably changes the dynamic of the match. And Nashville had other chances as well where they were threatening. They didn't capitalize on their chances in the first half. They probably could have been up with 3 goals, but they didn't. They didn't capitalize, and that's the way the ball rolls sometimes. Cincinnati, yeah, they just smash and grab 3 points. Didn't deserve it. Probably deserved that at most 1 point. And look, Roman Celentano, I give him a lot of crap. He had
triple save is awesome.
Yeah, triple save falling like a minute after saving a PK. I will give the man his flowers on this one because he earned it. That is an incredible 60 seconds to have as a goalkeeper.
Player of the week right there. Should have been player of the week.
He made the team of the week at the goalkeeper position. Rightly so. I don't know. That maybe that'll even make save of the season. I don't know if they do that award, but
I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah.
That one might get it. Yeah, that one was absurd.
It was good. Yep. It was very good. He does only save 1 penalty a season, so he did use it in this match. That's all I've got on that.
Yeah,
Gavin,
that's what I came out with. I felt like Nashville probably deserved to win. That Cincinnati got 3 points against the run of play. And so if you're a Nashville fan, I think that there's hope. You're man, there's definitely hope for this season. If you are a Cincinnati fan,
taking it and you're running.
I just think it's hard to remember, Kubo, Orjano, Evander, those guys didn't have a preseason. So it's just like I'm trying to kind of give grace on the fact that, these guys, they're still not clicking yet. I mean, really, the rest of the league isn't really clicking offensively. I mean, we're starting to see a lot of mistakes still. And so
I think how much of that is on preseason though? Is that on coaching at that point? Because I mean, we are at the end of March, and some of these teams did have preseasons.
There are teams where we're not seeing that.
I mean, look, no team has the offensive threats that Cincinnati does and is doing as poorly as they are with them. I mean, maybe LAFC you could maybe argue, but I don't think that. I think Cincinnati may have better quality across all three, and so it's just like I don't think that. I think Cincinnati is probably the most potent offense that is currently not clicking at the moment. But there's just too much quality there for it to not click eventually, right? Right? Yeah, right. Talk myself into it.
It's the Anakin Padme meme. You are going to start scoring, right? Right. All right. Hey, I'm moving us on. Guys, this one is a huge match coming up. There is news abounding. FC Dallas have finally done what no team could do for decades. And that is they have finally ended the reign of terror that is Peter Vermes with Sporting Kansas City. A 2-1 win by FC Dallas, and we get news today, Monday, the 31st of March. Peter Vermes has been relieved of his duties with Sporting Kansas City as the manager. It is the end of an era, truly. We'll talk about that almost certainly more than we'll talk about the match. But Beau, would you like to talk about the match and then get us underway about Peter Vermes?
Yeah, about the match. 2-1 FC Dallas. Honestly, Sporting Kansas City absolutely dominated this game. They dominated possession. Actually, if you look at the positional maps and passing maps, the average position of the Kansas City center backs was around the midline, right there at midfield. Dallas was very content to give Kansas City the ball, and they were like, you know what, you can have it. I bet you can't do anything with it, and they were right. The only time that Kansas City scored was on the counter, and so Dallas scored both goals really, really quickly. Both of them were long balls over the top because just like the problem all season long, Dallas is having a problem progressing the ball through midfield. And so, but both long balls over the top, bypass the midfield. 2 goals happen in very quick succession. but yeah, with Kansas City, it was just possession. The Manu, is it Manu Garcia? Yeah, Manu Garcia kept dropping really, really deep to get the ball. So then there was this massive hole as to where the number 10 should be. Um, Jake Davis was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Like at the very beginning, I was like, is he playing as like a winger? Because he was, literally like chasing, like sprinting after the center backs in like the first 10 minutes of the game trying to get the ball. But he's, playing center mid. There's just there seems to be a lack of continuity um, on this, like a real game plan. Because I mean, like Eric Tommy was playing as a winger at time. I mean, I don't know. There's just it's weird. I don't know. But when it comes to like what you said, uh, I watched Peter Vermes walk off the field for the last time as a Kansas City manager, which is weird to say. First off, the one thing I want to say is that the man is a legend. Like he saved Cincinnati, not Cincinnati. Sorry, Kansas City.
He might have saved some jobs
Switch
in
that,
Cincinnati
reverse it.
by
Yeah, he saved the Kansas City franchise and brought them back to relevance. And really, like tactically, the rest of the league had to adjust. I mean, granted, this was years ago, but lately, honestly, it's consistently not hitting on any of the signings. Every single signing, like DP quality signing, was the last ones like Russell. I'm trying to think a few of the other ones that they've had.
hey
Russell,
now.
Zusi.
Why am I
Polito.
getting slandered over here?
All those guys played into DP roles. They were not signed as DP deals. That I think maybe the best DP signing they ever had was Gotti Kinda, who was when you think Gotti Kinda, you think like, oh, there's a guy who never reached his potential. He should have been better than what he was, and that was their best one. I mean, honestly, like Daniel Shallowy is a DP. Daniel Shallowy's probably not even a max TAM player in MLS, and they're relying on him. And
He's
it's just, I think
barely Tam.
yeah, not even yes. You could argue if it's TAM level even for sure. And that's just what it was. It was consistent bad personnel choices. I mean, he gave Alan Polito a new contract. The deal was going to be up. They were going to get out, and they gave him a new deal because he actually was healthy for once. And then last year he was literally like statistically he was the worst player in MLS. Um, and so I just think that that's kind of what this was it was consistent bad personnel. There's no and honestly, even if you're a Kansas City fan now, the people running the club were all Vermes' buddies still. Like I can't remember the assistant coach taking over for him, the sporting director they put in place. Those are literally like all like they played with Vermes and have been his buddies forever. So it's just going to be more of the same. Um, because yeah, so I don't not going to sit here and say that everything's going to be better, but I will say that the man was great. The man had a fantastic career, but at some point your ideas and your words become stale and people stop listening. And that was kind of the vibe that I got with the players. It's just like, you look at the players on the field, look like Dejan Joveljic did not want to be there. Like you could just see it. He was just like, why the hell am I here? Um, and so yeah, hopefully this is a new look on life for them. But I don't know, Gavin, what do you think?
I'm
Well,
just
before
excited.
we hear what Gavin thinks, I'm gonna cut you off, Gavin, because we've got a correspondent corner instead.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
This one's on the Discord, on the MLS Now Discord. It's from Travis. Travis goes to say a win right now feels impossible, but a new coach bump would be extremely welcome. Our interim coach is Peter's longtime assistant, so my hopes aren't too high for a big tactical shift. The more I see our new players, the less I think we have what it takes to have a coherent team or identity.
Yep.
Hopefully, we can find someone quickly who has a strong plan to write the team's course. Beau, I feel like you described all of Travis's comments in your take, so
He just did it a lot
you are
shorter.
consistent. Well, either way, I wanted to throw that right after yours just for the side by side comparison there, and both your guys' heads are in the exact same spots in my mind.
I'm just
I'm in good
excited.
company.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what's next for them. It has been years and years and years of just nothingness, nothing to be excited for. The as a as a outside viewer, I'm sure as the fans, it's horrible to sit there every season knowing this team's not good enough. This coach is not going to bring us anywhere anytime soon, and this front office isn't, or this ownership really isn't going to do anything about it. It's got to be just such a terrible experience. And that fan base is loyal. That fan base is bleeds for its team, loves its team. The environment that they can create when they are really up for it is special, and it just hasn't been there because the team hasn't invested appropriately and hasn't cared appropriately. So I'm excited to see what they have for the future. Now, if the ownership was willing to leave it this long to make change, we'll see. But I'm gonna choose to live on the positive side.
Gavin's trying to manifest right now.
Yeah.
Manifest good things.
Fun fact.
Well, I'm gonna.
By the way, sorry, just a little fun fact on this. So Peter Vermes has obviously been at the club like an incredibly long time. I have been told that apparently he's been there so long that there are, like in the training facility and stadiums and stuff, there are like entire closets and rooms that are literally filled with crap and junk that has just like accumulated over time, and that it'll probably take like a moving truck to get everything out of there. The amount of stuff, he's been there so long.
It doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Because, like, let's be honest, it happens to all of us. You have, like, you just get stuff over the years, and you're just like, I want to put this in my basement.
I wonder if that was his first thought. He's like, so now I'm going to have to get an actual storage facility? Like, that was his first thought, was like, crap, who's going to deal with all this?
I wonder if he just leaves it there, and he's just like, oh, it's going to be like storage for us, you know?
I'm sure he hangs on to the keys. He'll just stop by whenever.
Yeah. There's probably a wink and a nod, like, you're out, but, you know, hey, feel free to come around anytime you want. We'll leave keys under the mat. You know where they are.
Under the frog statue.
Yeah, manifesting us to a new match to talk about. Minnesota 2, RSL 0. Beau, you rudely spoiled that news topic earlier. RSL, ownership also trying to sell the team. Grumble, grumble, grumble. So we're going to let Gavin kick that off as a topic about RSL ownership trying to sell the team because, Beau, this is what happens.
I mean, what is there to say, really, other than, they've just had a lot of turmoil these past, 5-6 years. Remember, what was their head coach's name?
Pablo Mastroeni.
No, before that. The guy who wasn't he forced out by the league because he oh my gosh, what was his name? Didn't he
Google is your friend, Gavin?
Not kick a ref, but what did he do? There was a head coach that was forced out for something crazy, and then I think was it them as well who had an ownership group that was forced to sell in the last 6 or 7 years, or was that a different team? I know Portland had its issues, but I thought RSL, for some reason, they couldn't buy players because their ownership group was selling or something. And then
their ownership group also owned Aston Villa.
They've definitely had multiple issues over the years. You got to feel for their fans.
Yeah, and then now the owners are trying to sell again, and with that brings a whole bunch of change, and very rarely do you see clubs who are going through this type of change also compete on the pitch. And so it's just
Vancouver has entered the chat.
True. Like I said, rarely, not never. And RSL's not doing it right now. So and since they're not doing it right now, they need to invest in some new players in certain attacking positions. And there's just not a lot of confidence that they're going to do that with an owner who is getting rid of the team. So I think that's the big takeaway. And I feel for the fans.
What's on the match itself, by the way, other than the fact that, they probably could have made this closer than 2-0?
Yeah, oddly enough, Minnesota didn't give up a 2+ goal lead this game, but they could have. There were a ton of chances for RSL down the stretch that they just didn't take. But Minnesota, they are showing that they are a first half team, and they are getting lots of goals. They are getting in front, and they are going to be hard to deal with in the early stages of the games. But if you just wait till the end of the game, you're going to get chances. Like they get tired, they lose focus, they start ball watching. It was a really poor end of the game yet again for Minnesota, and they have got to figure that out.
Yeah, I think Minnesota doesn't have the depth on the bench that other teams might have. Like I don't think that there's near enough quality. And if you think about like academy wise, they've produced nothing. Like their academy has been horrific. Um, like there's where a lot of other teams like are able to have a few guys kind of come in. Minnesota isn't. The one thing I want to say from this game, Tanialawa Shehi, first of his name, greatest of his kind, should have had a hat trick in this one. Um, very much on this one, but he's definitely on a heater at the moment. It's funny that he's carrying the team and not Kelvin Yeboah, but man, can you imagine if Minnesota gets both of these guys cooking at the same time? Yet two strikers who could score like they do. It could be if they get hot at the right time, it could be fun to watch.
I am looking up just to see what Minnesota, what their whatchamacallit is. Club rosters final. Minnesota has roster designation. They have one homegrown player on their roster, Devin Paddleford.
Yeah, they had another one. I cannot remember for the life of me who, but pretty like decent player. And then basically he quit and left and is, I mean, good player, like playing in MLS, like an everyday MLS player. Now I cannot for the life remember who, if he went to like a New York or something like that. But they've had some people come through. But back in the day, Adrian Heath just didn't put any stock in the academy.
Yeah. No, I'm looking to see if there's anyone else. Portland Timbers also only have one homegrown tagged player right now. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like, let's look at RSL, for instance. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players on their roster compliance guide that are tagged as homegrown. Now, granted, a bunch of those are off roster, unavailable tagged, but they are listed on their, on their official roster compliance. So
I just fact checked
so
myself while you guys were talking there. By the way, I was thinking of Mike Petke getting banned for a couple games and then subsequently fired shortly after. And then the next year, they put their club up for sale, and then the club is up for sale again. So that was kind of what I was referencing. A lot of change, a lot of back end turnover. And then of course they got Freddie Juarez, the coach, for like a season and a half after Petke, and then he ditched them like
for
for
good reason.
assistant coaching position, and then now they've got. I think that's when they went to Mastroeni. So it's just been a lot of craziness over the past 5-6 years.
Yeah, that is. There's a lot of jobs around this league right now for head coaching that I don't know who takes those. Montreal is one of those. I don't know who takes the Montreal head coach job.
No, but
And
seriously, like serious question on that. Who even takes their call at this point? Like I've heard like some of the fans been like, "Oh, hire Jim Curtin," or who was who was the guy who was the Portland coach who was fired last year?
Savarese.
Thank you. I
yeah,
was like, it's
Fabrice.
Geo something. Like who in the right mind is even taking a call from Portland at this point? I mean,
Another young guy who wants to prove himself.
I
Another
mean,
Wilfred Nancy.
but like Wilfred Nancy
It,
was ready
that
to
was supposed to be
quit.
Laurent Courtois.
Yes, that's a great point. But I mean, they had Wilfred freaking Nancy. Nancy was willing to quit after a discussion. Like he walked out of the office ready to quit after a discussion with ownership. Just about a spat. I'm sure they're overstepping the bounds and telling him how to coach or whatever. This is maybe already like the greatest coach in MLS history, you could argue. They had that at their disposal and they drive it off. And that's just what they do. If you're like if you're anyone in Montreal calls, I mean, was it Montreal? Was it early last year? Their GM, whoever their GM equivalent, quit because he kept coming with contracts like agreed contracts. Everything comes to ownership, and they would say no. And after literally the third, fourth, fifth time, he just said, "Why am I even here?" and quit. Sorry.
Now, I mean, look, it's a great question, and I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer. Like, and I think we're going to see a lot of interesting coaching changes this season, for that matter. Like we've already seen two. Hey, over under 7.5 this season.
Wins or points?
No, coaches. How many coaching
Oh, I
changes?
thought we were still on Montreal.
Yeah, well, that too. Over and under 7.5 wins plus draws for Montreal.
I would say coaches hired and fired by the end of the year, 7.5. I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
Probably. I'm gonna go with under. I think we had a lot of
Okay.
turnover last year, so
We had
I
a
think
ton last year.
under.
Yeah, 7 seems
It was
like
like a third
7
of
would
the
be
league.
almost a third of the league. Like that's no, a quarter of the league, just about. So that would be a lot of people fired. So I would set the over and under at 4.5 personally.
I would take the over on that easily. I think it's going to be around 6 or 7.
Man, there are not too many teams right now who are bad who we didn't think would be bad. Like everyone for the most part is pretty much where we expect them. Maybe Atlanta, but like I maybe the Red Bulls, but like everyone else seems about right where they're supposed to be. There's not really any surprises so far.
I think we're
Well,
looking
I mean,
at Toronto, New England,
mhm.
DC in the East, and in the West.
I bet Ben
Uh,
Olsen gets the can this year.
There's no way DC fires their coach this year. Absolutely not. That was Ali Mackay came in. Troy Lesesne was his dude, and they said it was going to take several years to overturn this roster. And this is only year 2. I think Troy
Yeah,
there you
Lesesne is
go.
safe.
yeah, I agree on Troy Lesesne. I think Ben Olsen's going to be on the hot seat. I think that Toronto's going to end up firing their coach just because they have to look like they're doing something. Like
Making
I
losing
don't
look easy. Was it what was that what the banner
it,
was?
yeah, I legitimately I don't know what they're hoping to achieve there because I don't know what coach changes things in Toronto right now, but I think they're going to fire their coach because they have to, and I think Caleb Porter gets canned at some point this year as well. There's no way he lasts the whole season. So, I mean, I think that already takes us to 4, and I think there's going to be another coach somewhere down the stretch that'll get canned because they're going to be in like the bottom, 3, 4 for their conference. So that's why I think 5 is very conservative and safe.
Yeah, I just don't know who that other one would be.
We're only in week 6.
I mean, Montreal's crazy enough. We could probably count on them to do it again.
We could.
I mean,
We
seriously, like,
could.
would any of you be shocked if, like, week 18, it's like, oh, Montreal has let go another coach?
Mm-mm. Here's what I think would be amazing to happen,
Saputo
right?
goes down to the sidelines himself to take the team to glory.
What if New England Revolution cans Caleb Porter like within the next few weeks? Montreal hires him and then fires him in like week 25.
Peak MLS. That would be insane.
What if, do you think that Toronto and New England could just trade coaches? I mean,
Yeah.
who's getting the worst out of that deal?
Toronto, because they get Caleb Porter.
I mean, it can't be worse, right? Like, it can't. But could
Okay,
you
okay.
imagine Caleb Porter and his ego in a locker room with Insigne and Bernadeschi? Like that needs to be like one of wait, was it Hard Knocks? Is that the thing where they like the
Onside,
no
Onside.
or
the
something
yeah,
where
the
it's like yeah
documentary,
okay I have no idea but
or
like the
30 for
document
30.
no but it's like there needs to be like cameras like in the locker room. We need to see that.
Okay, hear me out, Beau. You're gonna love this. Montreal has a GM that they couldn't keep, and they have a head coach that they just fired. Imagine if there was an available individual who could do both of those roles, who just suddenly became available and knew the league quite well and was used to ownership that doesn't necessarily spend a lot of money.
No. No. Let him be gone. Let his reign of terror end, like you said.
MLS loves retreads. Okay, I'm continuing on, guys. We're having way too much fun on this, and we could do a whole episode of us just talking smack about teams and hilarious scenarios. We're gonna talk about my personal favorite match of the weekend: San Diego FC versus LAFC. 3-2 win for SDFC. Gavin, I'm gonna put him on blast here again. Left a note that said LAFC would have won this game if they were 11v11. They should have won it 10v11. Gavin, I disagree on your 11v11, and I think the red card changed how both of these teams um, approached this match, and I think SDFC stopped what they were doing that was effective the second they went up a man. And
Okay, yeah, that's fair. They
I
did
think
that.
yeah, I think 11v11, I still probably take San Diego. That said, I think they were extremely fortunate to have some very crucial misses by LAFC, especially Buonga, who misses the goal by millimeters, surely, that would have at least tied it and probably would have shifted the momentum some. So, look, 3-2, love it. Big fan of it. I had an absolute blast in the first half, but that red card, I think, changed the match way too much. And I don't think it
Yeah,
changed it in a good way for San Diego. I think they lost a lot of wind out of their sails.
yeah, they definitely struggled with it for sure. But overall, just a really fun match. I agree with everything you said there. But LAFC, man, they will feel like this was an opportunity missed.
I wonder what Shrundalo gave us his excuse on this one. He's an excuse for everything.
Yeah, but doesn't every good manager? I mean, isn't it every good manager's job to come up with some reason as to why his players? He can't just go in there and be like, "Yeah, dude, we sucked. Like our players just weren't good enough." Just it's just not
Oh,
really his style.
I guess maybe he should just say, guys, he can level it to him straight and be like, hey, we did everything right to create chances to at least get something out of that, and we just didn't finish it. And sometimes that's the way the ball bounces. So I think that's what happened.
That's probably what he said verbatim.
Yeah, it definitely was like a tale. Like San Diego came out hot and heavy, and LAFC just was not prepared for it. I mean,
Mm-mm.
literally, San Diego scores in the 21st, 33rd, and 40th minute. I mean, that's under 20 minutes. I mean, just turning off in those moments. But I mean, it was kind of the whole game. San Diego was um weren't two of those goals. Two of them were off of set pieces, right? Um, and I think
At
that
least one of them was.
I know one. I think it was. I'm almost positive it was two. Um, I know
Oh, one of them
McVeigh had like the
was,
fadeaway header, and then another one was Lloris drops the ball. That's what it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is
There
that
was a
is
lot
it a set
of
piece goal if
I.
Lloris drops the ball?
Well, it's kind of right. I mean, it's one of those that I think that this just kind of is showing the importance, maybe a little bit of, it's kind of a bit of a theme. Houston's only goal come off of set piece this year. Jack McGlynn's amazing at set pieces. We talk about that. The Red Bulls, right? Like they're kind of missing that set piece specialist that they had with Tolkien. Andres Dreyer is incredible set piece deliverer. I mean, I think maybe that's something that we kind of undervalue is that maybe having an elite level set piece taker is pretty critical. But yeah, it's crazy. I feel like that the theme in LA this weekend was goalkeeper howlers or blunders or whatever. There was just something in the water for Larissa McCarthy this weekend.
Yeah, look, my one great compliment on that drop for Lloris, it's a compliment to San Diego, for the record. But this is why you have
Not to Larissa, you don't have a
guys in
compliment
the
for Larissa.
box. Now, I don't have a compliment to Lloris for dropping the ball in the box. No, do better. But this is why you put guys in the box who have to stay active and flood that box with bodies. Because can you imagine how many other teams don't convert that in this league when the goalkeeper drops the ball because they only have one guy and who's probably not even, in a position to do something about it, but it's like, or he's going to be ball watching and be like, oh, I wasn't ready. I wasn't expecting him to drop it. How can you expect me to, to move for that? Like, no, that's the whole point of like why you need to have guys in that position is because sometimes it happens and it happened here.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I mean,
Well said.
watching the game, I felt like the right team walked away with 3 points
I agree with that as
personally.
well. Yeah. This was
Although
a
I think that
thriller of a match.
LAFC also, I think at the same time, LAFC can look back and go, we should have gotten 1 point, maybe 3 points out of that.
Yeah. I think a draw would have been unfortunate for San Diego, but it wouldn't have been like it wouldn't have been an incorrect result because LAFC definitely had opportunities.
San Diego did too. I mean, we kind of mentioned earlier, but Chucky Lozano missing that 1v1.
1v1.
You're the one
Yeah.
that they're literally building their team around. You've got to finish that. I mean, Bouanga had a 1v1, but it was a really tight angle, and that's, he's going away from it, having to shoot with the outside of his boot, but yet make it curl in was going to be really tough. But I mean, look, the fact that anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Chances existed on both sides. Anyways, hey, if you are bored and you have 45 minutes, go rewatch the first half. Also, 3-0 lead, extremely dangerous. Good on San Diego for not losing their heads, because if you're up 3-0 and suddenly you're only up 3-2, like, you've got to be nervous.
That
You've got to
first
be
goal by, what
panicking.
was his name? Schwar, what's it?
Your guess is as good as mine. I'm not even going to make an attempt.
Smolyakov, I think is what it was. The first goal by Smolyakov from LAFC. Go back and watch that. Like that's going to be up for goal of the year. That was incredible. Like that is the literal unstoppable shot. Just incredible.
All right, I'm moving us on because, again, we somehow still have 4 matches to talk about. San Jose, Seattle. I don't necessarily want to spend tons of time talking about this one. I'll admit it. It kind of tale of two halves. San Jose better in one half, Seattle better in one half. I'm kind of nervous for both these teams, to be honest. Like, I was super high on San Jose going into this season, and I think they are not performing to the degree that we might have expected them to be performing under Bruce Arena, given the talent on that roster. And also at the same time, Seattle, given how deep that roster is, and yes, it has injuries, but Seattle also giving me some concerns, not quite looking like a team that's going to even be within shouting distance of a home playoff spot. I mean, they're sitting in 12th right now.
I
6 matches.
I think San Jose was really lucky to walk away with a point on this. It literally took Alex Roldan passing it to Beau right up at the top of the box and just finishing. I mean, the Seattle goal, like Albert Rusnak makes Chicho look like a fool, like just going around him. I mean, and then excellent finish. I kind of wonder. I'm starting to think that the tail off that Chicho Arango had in the last half of last year may have been closer to what he was. May have been closer to what he is. Than maybe he was just on a heater the first half of the year.
Could be. It's been a extended period of time where we haven't seen consistent output. This has been his consistent output. So, yeah.
Your note in here of San Jose giving up the most XG against per 90 with 2.18. That is an incredible stat, because they were the worst team historically ever in MLS last year, and I would have thought they would have gotten that shorn up with Arena, but that is an incredible find of a stat, my friend.
Yeah, through 6 games, it's been pretty rough defensively for them still. Now, 6 games, right? Small sample size, and one of them they had a red card, and they were holding on to a 1-0 lead. So that's probably, I remember they were facing a lot of shots against SKC, but not a lot of close high XG shots, to be fair. But yeah, just defensively across the season, it felt like they were giving up a lot of XG. So I went and checked, and they're giving up the most.
Well,
Not
I'm excited to hear you talk about the Orlando Galaxy game personally.
Yeah, which is, in fact, our next match to talk about. So, Gavin, I get to do the part where I get to turn off my brain for a second while you talk about Orlando and what they did. So have at it. This is all you.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with how Los Angeles Galaxy. I hate you, Russell. I was impressed with how the Galaxy started this game. If I were coaching against Orlando, knowing everything I know about my beloved team, I would do pretty much exactly what Vanny did against us, and that is get into the spaces behind Freeman and behind Pasalic, because Pasalic is not as defensively resolute as Facundo Torres was, as we talked about last week, Beau. and they really targeted that space early on, and they were getting a lot of joy, and we couldn't get near them. It was pulling Araujo out of midfield. It was getting Atuesta to kind of be the lone midfielder at times, and that's never a good sign defensively. And it was just pulling us all over the place, and we couldn't get the ball, and we were giving up a lot of set pieces and corners. And for the first 15, 20 minutes, it was all Galaxy. Then they score the goal. We talked about it already. It was offsides. And we finally were able to just like get our foot on the ball and pass it around after like 20 minutes. And, then at that point, we're trying to feel our way into the game. We don't really create much. I think we create like one or two, not even half chances. We're just like in the final third, essentially. We get to the second half. Not much changes. Galaxy start the second half like they started the first half. They make some changes. I think one of the big changes was actually putting Paintsil into this game. He had like one moment where he was dangerous, and the rest of it, he was just kind of anonymous. And I think that it hindered them defensively. And obviously, you have to build him up, but they brought him in with like 30 minutes left. And I think it was his first game back. I thought that was an interesting move by Vanny. So that was interesting. I don't think it worked out for them. And then we get the penalty, and then we score the penalty, and then it's the goalkeeper mistake from McCarthy. No, I was sitting there saying, please don't shoot, please don't shoot, please don't. Because you could see Muriel lining up the free kick, and he's like, yeah, he's going to shoot that. And McCarthy just makes a huge mistake. And I think it's pretty clear what happened with McCarthy from what I was looking at, is it looks like he changes his mind right at the last second. It looked like he was going to punch it over, but then he was like, oh, I can catch this. And so he made the movement to punch it over, but then like went to catch it at the same time. And just his mind and his body weren't aligned. And the ball just drops in, and we steal a win. Which felt kind of justified after the offside goal. So it was a weird one. It was a weird game.
The audio only listeners are gonna have no context for why you said you hate me.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm happy to leave it that way.
Watch our YouTube videos.
Yeah, if you're curious as to why Gavin hates me. Yeah, I think. Look, some people are gonna discount this win over Galaxy and be like, oh yeah, Orlando beat, literally one of the worst teams in the league right now, a winless Galaxy who through 6 matches now are 4 losses, 2 draws. Like, you should have won, but
Galaxy were good. They were good.
Yeah, like they are getting healthier. There are more threats on the field for them. I don't think they're going to turn a corner until Puig gets back, and I'm now starting to think with how far down they are, it's going to be too late to do anything with it. So that's unfortunate for the Galaxy, but
I think having Paintsil back will be huge, at a minimum. So
yeah. I wonder
we'll see.
Puig, but I'm really, the more I watch, the more I think that just as important as Puig being out, Marky Delgado going to LAFC, them losing him in the midfield, is the more and more I watch, the more and more that just becomes a glaring hole. I can't remember the name of the young kid they brought in, but in his place. And I know why they do it. The roster mechanism makes sense, right? The U22 only hits at a certain rate, but man, I think that the Marky Delgado loss is huge for this team.
It's sure looking like it, isn't it?
And in the case of this weekend, LAFC, it was a big addition. Marky Delgado was a big addition for him this week, too.
He's won everywhere he's gone in this league. He's such an underrated midfielder. I don't understand why he isn't rated more.
Well, he might be rated more after people listen to this podcast, Gavin.
Yeah.
Because remember, we did put Sporting Kansas City in their own tier in our tier maker episode, and Peter Vermes got fired. So
we also put Toronto in the SKC tier. So
yeah, well,
the logic's iffy, but
yeah. I mean, they're basically the SKC of the East. So
that should be Toronto's new slogan: Toronto,
SKC of the
Kansas City of the East.
Kansas City of the East. That's definitely a marketing slogan right there. All right, 2 matches left. We're going to go talk about one that I think people should consider making this the new way that soccer is played. St. Louis versus Austin. They played, they had halftime, they played more, they had a weather delay. I took a nap during the weather delay. I missed nothing. It was phenomenal. I woke up, the weather delay was ending, and they were talking about restarting. They finished the match, and I was like, I feel refreshed, and I got to watch all the match. So big fan
Win, win,
there.
win.
Yeah, I mean, well, not unless you're St. Louis. They did not win, and their goal scoring woes continue. And I am having some very, very big concerns about St. Louis. From an Austin side, though, hey, Gavin, your guy Uzuni got a goal finally.
It's about
And
time,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, I think Austin probably did enough to maybe get a second goal there, but eh, they have
They don't
they have identity issues too.
they don't send enough people forward, Austin. They send 2 to 3 players into the box and they think they're going to score, and every single attack they get gets blocked by a defender. I think that's part of their issues. I think it's offensive structure is a bit of a problem for me.
Yeah, and sending 2 or 3 guys forward can make complete sense if you're a team like, I don't know, LAFC, who send 2 to 3 guys forward, and one of them is Buanga, who can go run 1v1 or 1v2 and get you goals on his own, but, they do not have a Buanga
I think that
on
Bukhari
Austin,
was supposed to be there, Bawonga.
but he's not,
I mean,
and
Bawangas don't grow on trees, to be fair.
yeah, well, I don't know, man. That's
I actually left you speechless. That kind of
yeah,
that's hard to
it
do.
I I don't know what to say about Austin. I really
Well, then
don't.
let's just talk about St. Louis and how their fans are
Yeah.
already calling for Olaf Mulberg's job. Like there's
Mhm.
already calls of people being like, "Man, last year, like the last half of the season, the soccer was so aesthetically pleasing, and they were actually winning and they were doing well. I mean, and then they now are just they don't score
But that
consistently."
that's Melberg's style. I mean, if, and in fact, it was one of the few times that I think the broadcast was actually giving like very insightful historic information because they were calling it out as well, and they were like, "Well, we're like people have made this critique about Melberg and their scoring woes, and if you look at Melberg's time in other leagues, this is how Melberg plays. This is his style. Like the ownership and the sporting executives saw all of this data and had to have consciously chosen to say, we think that will work here even if fans don't like it.
Or there's just agents and behind the and contacts
No,
and
never. Like,
relationships and
there's
things like
no
that.
corruption in soccer, Gavin. Their money has not influenced the sport in any negative ways. Uh, Everyone is happy and truthful and honest in this sport for sure.
I mean,
Definitely.
Lutz Pfannenstiel, who's the sporting director there, which if you haven't read his book, you absolutely should. He has a book. He was goalkeeper. Like he was in prison in, I think it was Thailand or something for crimes he didn't commit. Like he stole a penguin one. Like I mean, like I'm talking like freaking wild, wild story. Like absolutely worth reading his book. Lutz, you can give me a little bit of cut of the whenever the book sales spike here in a few hours. No, but Lutz von still has a bit of a some of his decision making in the past has been kind of questionable. Like he has his beliefs and about what the team should look like, and he is not afraid to execute those. And so I think that he does not necessarily care maybe how the soccer looks as long as they're winning. And maybe they're in the thing of hey, defense wins championships, and so they're just going to go out there and they're going to be able to smother out a thing. But in order to smother one out, you have to at least skull a gore.
Skolagore.
Mm. Yep,
Uh,
skull a gore
this
every game.
is this is an incredible statistic that I am looking at right now. St. Louis has the fewest. No, they are tied for the fewest goals allowed. No, they are fewest goals allowed. Um, but I think they also have the fewest goals forced. No, sorry, I lied. Montreal exists.
Even over Sporting Kansas City, Toronto, New England. Now that is quite
Yeah, they have. I'll say this: they have the worst goals forced, um, in the West. They're tied with Houston, who has 4, and St. Louis has 4. They've allowed 2 goals, but I mean,
That is elite company, not like good elite, but
Yeah, badly. 3 of
yeah,
their goals came in that one game against the Galaxy. FYI.
wow, that is
3 of their
that,
4. Yeah.
that
good
is
lord. They have scored one. Oh my gosh.
1 goal in their other 5 matches. That's not great.
Who that was their 1-0 win. Who was that against? I can't remember.
I can tell you who it wasn't against.
Yeah.
It was against Seattle,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
who I think a lot of us are looking at and saying beating Seattle's probably not as big of an achievement right now in the season,
No,
and
absolutely
especially
not.
where they were.
All right, I'm gonna do the correspondent corner we've got for this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, 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 yeah. Hit us with that, and then we'll move on to the final
Yeah,
match.
Tyler says from a St. Louis perspective, the team needs to find some type of balance between the lackadaisical pace of the first half and frenzied chaos of the second half. On paper, St. Louis did well, doubled up Austin in shots, completed 87% of its passes, owned 64% possession, and earned 8 corners. But all of that was for nothing because Austin caught St. Louis sleeping, and St. Louis never really woke up until after the lightning delay. The defense largely still looks great, and Lund has looked really good in Berkey's absence, but Melberg and company need to show they're capable of putting together an offensive game plan and need to start rotating in players like Celio Pompeu to introduce creativity beyond the German bloc that's clearly struggling to find their feet. To a degree, I don't care they've only conceded 2 goals this season. Both resulted in losses, and that's unacceptable. Before we
Very,
jump to
very
the
good
next,
shout. Very good shout on that. I want to say Pompeu last year was absolutely incredible until he broke his leg here in Dallas. But if they can get him back on track, that would be a huge help. Very, very good shout on that one.
yep. Before we move on, Russell, we have a late correspondent corner for the Colorado Rapids from Nick.
Ooh,
So we'll do
how
that one real
far
quick.
back was that?
Very, very far back.
Yeah, that was almost an hour and 40 minutes ago.
Yeah. Okay. So he says big bounce back win for Colorado over a very solid Charlotte FC team. Georgie bagged a brace and was very deserving of player of the match day. With Atencio joining the ranks, Larraz has been given freedom down the left wing, which has worked well so far. Hoffa continues to perform, which means the Rapids have not one but 2 DPs worthy of their price tag. Can't say the same for Cabral, who continues to struggle. Colorado faces the Western Conference leaders, the Vancouver Whitecaps side, this upcoming Saturday. Should be an exciting matchup.
Brawl hate is just too much. I can't work in these conditions.
All right, well, hey, how about this? We'll take you to better conditions, Beau. I'm going to take you to conditions of Portland versus Houston, which is clearly far superior and something I know you would love to talk about. Portland with a 3-1 win over Houston, and I'm going to kick off our discussion by just saying Houston is a terrible team.
And you are not totally wrong. No, I think Houston is really, really struggling with just defensive depth at the moment. Again, I say it every week, but losing Mikhail was huge. They had to have Daniel Steres out on the left, and who ended up getting a yellow card. I mean, literally, like Santi Moreno was just after a while. Moreno, they were just like, let's just go at Steres. Like that's the weak spot. No, the only goal came off of a set piece. Jack McGlynn. Griffin Dorsey actually looked pretty good at times. Ezekiel Ponce continues to be uh, a dog's breakfast. Bossy seems to have taken a step back. Ladero has been unimpactful. I mean, literally, the only 2 bright spots on this team so far have been Archer and Jack McGlynn, and Griffin Dorsey, the occasional one. Um, but there's hope. Maybe Quinones will come back. They got the new number 10, but I don't think that there's that much hope. Ponce has been the record signing. He just hasn't produced. Literally, like he even had a chance late game to score and just sent it up in the stands as a souvenir. Yeah, Houston.
Yeah,
Houston has been bad, but and you guys mentioned Ben Olsen earlier. I don't know what you can expect out of him with this team. I mean, there's just not quality. And look, no team can lose a Coco Carrasquilla, who's the guy who, dang it, did his ACL last year? It wasn't Ponce. There's another one who starts with an E.
Anali?
Thank you, Emeka Anali. No, not Emeka Anali. Starts with an L. Anyway, uh, yes,
El
Anali.
Mecca, El Nali.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Emeka Ameli, but it's Anali. I always get those two confused. But yeah, no, not Lawrence Anali. Was a key part of this. I mean, they've lost some big key contributors to the attack, and they just can't replace it.
Yep. Also, they signed
think,
a player with a injury in Dwayne Holmes.
I can tell you right now, as a Cincinnati fan, we've done that before, and that didn't work out well.
No.
So
Orlando did the same thing. Doesn't work.
Yeah, word to the wise, don't do that. I've got two statements here on Houston. One of them, just to back up Beau, remember, they are in the elite company of St. Louis, who also have 4 goals. Here's a super fun fact, unless you're a Houston fan. Houston have the worst goal differential in the West, even worse than Sporting Kansas City, although they are tied with LA Galaxy. But yeah, Sporting Kansas City has a better goal differential than Houston.
I mean, but at least Sporting Kansas City has Dejan Joveljic and Willie Agata. I mean, Houston would be, if Houston had either one of those, they would be significantly better because Ezequiel Ponce has been not only not a DP caliber player, he hasn't even looked like a starting caliber player in this league so far. Now, granted, where is the service coming from? I guess, I mean, Bossy is supposed to be everything on this, but there's just the quality isn't there, and that's the thing. Like you mentioned, Ben Olsen earlier, I don't know what more he's supposed to do with this.
Hey, they did get that second striker in Lingier, who's like an attacking midfielder, but he's like a second striker. Really, he's not really creative midfielder.
I'm going to withhold judgment on that, Gavin, because
see, yeah.
my follow-up statement on that is I don't look. I think Ben Olsen's going to get canned this year, but I do think that's going to be more of a Pat Onstad is going to get rid of him, trying to say it's the tactics just to prolong his job. But by all, like every reasonable metric, like who's the person who signed Ponce? Who's the person who got rid of Kataskia and did not replace him? Who's the guy who brought in Ache and then all the drama happened and then didn't replace Ache? Like, who is the person assembling this team and whiffing on all these signings? And like Ben Olsen did get a trophy in his time with Houston. Like he's a known commodity. You know he can coach. So where's the common denominator on this one?
And not only can he coach, but he showed in between this, I guess, tenure and his last one that he changed and adapted. Because, you know, he looked at the end with DC, he looked pretty garbage. And then when he comes to Houston, totally doing something totally different. Caleb Porter, you may want to take note when you're unemployed again. Learn.
Yeah, I think Ben Olsen's gonna wrongly get canned for this, but I'm laying the blame at the feet of Pat Onstad at this point.
I mean, it's easier. Unfortunately, it's easier and more impactful it's easier to change coaches and get a rise than it is to switch the roster out, right? Like, and it's more impactful to change coaches than to switch out GM. So it's just kind of the coach is just the darned if you do, darned if you don't. You're just the fall guy in the end.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I mean, even Vermes went down, so no one is safe.
Yeah, we were talking about Vermes had the blackmail material on the GM, and apparently it wasn't good enough.
He lost the USB, man. Always, you got to back it up in the cloud. I'm telling you guys.
Put it in the cloud. This episode not sponsored by Microsoft Cloud. This episode also not sponsored by Reese's Dipped Animal.
I noticed we didn't really talk about Portland, but I think it's just one of that. Is that a thing of Houston is just that bad that it's like, well, Houston's I would hope that you would score 3 on Houston.
They could have scored 6.
I'm still not convinced that Phil Neville's a good coach or is a right fit for them.
But everyone's going to look like the right fit against Houston right now.
I wish Orlando City was playing Houston right now.
Who does Houston play? Hold on. I am curious. Who gets the benefit of 3 points in the East this year? matches. Houston Dynamo in the East is playing.
They played Miami.
New York City FC.
They already
Montreal versus Houston Dynamo.
Unstoppable forces colliding.
You mean two immovable objects not going anywhere at all.
And then they already played Miami.
And they've got Philadelphia. And they have Nashville. Dang. Man, oh man, that's... Some of those teams really need the Houston match, especially you, Montreal.
And that just shows why any of you people who still believe that Supporters Shield is better than MLS Cup, why you're wrong.
Well, no, here's the thing. Everyone should beat Houston and Montreal. So if you don't, then you don't deserve to win Supporters Shield.
I just mean for those Eastern Conference teams, they pretty much just get 3 more points than the rest of their cohorts.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Fact, no. Hey, luck of the draw. Everyone gets to play Montreal, though, so in the East. All right. Guys, we have been going for basically 3.5 days at this point, as far as I can tell. So I'm going to set you both free, unless you have anything else at all that you would like to talk about. Unless your name is Gavin, who desperately wants to go to sleep.
CONCACAF Champions Cup this week.
Oh, yes. Let's do an hour and a half on CONCACAF. We've got to stop doing this. Somebody has to stop us from doing these 2-hour episodes. Write into your local legislators and tell them to introduce a law to stop us. Anyways, if you have complaints about the length of the episode, remember, you can find Gavin on social media at LionsBlog1. He is, in fact, able to stop us from our nonsense. If you love the length of the episode and you would like to hear even longer episodes, go find Beau on Blue Sky at MLS Gamut. And if you want to know what my cat is doing and why he's an absolute menace, you can message me on social media at Mr. Dangerous. And if you want to know about soccer and what's going on, hey, MLS Now podcast. So with that, guys, listeners, everyone, my cat, who is still here, looking at my feet like he wants to bite them, we will see y'all next time.
Till next time.
Later, dudes.